Hey, how's it going, YouTube? How y'all doing today? I actually managed to walk all the way up here. These cattle have seen me. They're mooing. They aren't making a dash for the gate though, so that's good. They're just sitting around grazing, which is good, which is what they need to be doing. Yeah, they're still mooing like they would like some grain, but look at all this grass. I mean, why they need to be eating this grass. This grass is much better quality feed for them. The feed value of this grass is astronomical. Of like early growth, some fresh ryegrass. The feed value of this early growth ryegrass, of this fresh ryegrass, is just astronomical for these cattle. It puts a lot of weight on these animals. They look real good when they're on it. I mean, look at them. They just look real good. They look plump. They look like they're getting enough to eat. Their poops look good. They're yeah, everything just about them it just looks real good when they're on this grass. This grass, okay, so this grass, what had been happening to this grass for these last couple weeks, 2 weeks or so, is that it would rain, but there would be plenty of moisture in the soil. Then what would happen is that it would get cold. It would get to like 29, 25 degrees at night. At that temperature, this grass goes dormant. So if it ever goes to like below, I think it's like below 38 or something, this grass will go dormant. So it'll just stop growing because yep, it's too cold. So we were getting a lot of rain. Weather would be good for growing grass for about a week or so. Then it would get too cold, so this grass would stop growing for 2-3 days. Then it would start growing again, then it would stop growing. So it's kind of been like this thing where it just grows and it stops, and it grows and it stops. But as of right now, it looks like this cold season is behind. We are past this cold season. Look at, I mean, the grass is growing in. I'm taking a look around this field to see if I can see any of this rime and rye that I had broadcasted growing in. Maybe this kind of grass is it right here. This is it right here. This could be it. This field is definitely greening up, which is good. I was kind of debating putting another 35 pounds of nitrogen on this field. This field, well, okay, so if I put 35 pounds of nitrogen on this field, it'd be well, it would be a pretty good idea in terms of just the overall process of it. It would be a pretty good idea, I think, if I put 35 pounds of nitrogen on this field. Just walking a little bit carefully. I got like these this farm. It used to be a big old corn farm, and so like I still see the rows where the man had planted, where I'm guessing he went that way, left, right. There are these hills, and I gotta watch my footing on this, or I'll gotta pay attention to this camera. Okay, yeah, I've stepped on a rock and just messed up my foot several times. But yep, these animals are all looking good. They're on grass. This grass is growing in. I've been considering putting in about another 35 pounds of nitrogen, because if I put in 35 pounds of nitrogen, well, okay, so my big idea, that would mean that so far this year I've put in 70 pounds of nitrogen, which isn't a whole lot, to be completely honest. 70 pounds of nitrogen, it ain't a whole lot. This grass, well, okay, so the big idea, why would I put 70 pounds of nitrogen on this field? So I figured if I put 70 pounds of nitrogen, well, if I put another 35 pounds of nitrogen on this field, which would be 70 pounds, well, okay, so I figured that this ryegrass would be good for this ryegrass. These cattle would eat it. Then ultimately, I mean, right when this ryegrass gets plowed up, when it's time for this ryegrass to go, I'm going to be planting Sudan grass immediately afterwards. So that nitrogen will ultimately just go straight into Sudan grass. So it ain't like I'm going to be putting a fertilizer on this field and just leaving it alone. if I put fertilizer on this field, then just let rain wash it away, or if I just left it to leach into the soil, that'd be a horrible idea. But if I put 35 pounds of nitrogen on this field right now, this ryegrass would absorb it. Then Sudan grass right afterwards would absorb it too. And when I plant that Sudan grass, I wouldn't even bother nitrogen fertilization, because look at all this grass. There is just such a tremendous summer grass. Now that it's been warm, it's like the low temperature for the day is like 50. So it's been perfect conditions for these this ryegrass to grow. So it's been growing. The whole field has turned green, practically, except for a couple bare spots that I missed when I was broadcasting. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll drill it this time around. Next time around I'll drill it instead of broadcasting it. But I mean, it's still okay. I mean, in terms of having good grass for these cattle to eat, this is perfectly fine. There's more than enough grass. There's more than these cattle can ever possibly eat growing in right now. So yep. So I'll probably put a little bit more fertilizer on this field. Then when I plant Sudan grass, I'll do a zero nitrogen fertilization. I'll just put a tiny bit of phosphorus with a good bit of potassium into the soil. Then I'll top dress nitrogen fertilizer just as necessary. Just whenever I believe it's necessary, I'll maybe go through a field, and I'll probably only think it's really necessary maybe one time through each growing phase. So if I planted a Sudan grass, I'd probably only put nitrogen fertilizer on it one time. If I cut it, I'd probably put nitrogen fertilizer on it one time. So I'm not just gonna it just be one time. It ain't gonna be like I'm blasting this stuff with nitrogen, because nitrate poisoning is also a real thing. I don't want to be I don't want to have nitrate poisoning going on either. So it'll probably just be one time per growing cycle of nitrogen fertilizer, and I'll probably barely put I'll put just enough on it to keep it growing good. I also got that meeting with a lawyer today, so that'll be interesting. Hey, little fella snuck up on me and hit me in the leg. Yep, I got that meeting with a lawyer today. I'm gonna be well, okay. So the guy started cussing me out, started yelling at me. I told him we had a yelling match, and I told him I was gonna sue him, and the dude started cussing me out. So it is what it is. I'm gonna go sue him. I mean, they messed up on it. They never offered me a refund. That's a big problem legally for them. They can take it up with the court. Okay, so my big whole thing with this whole thing is that I'm gonna go and talk to three different civil attorneys. I'm gonna see what they say. I'm gonna go talk to 3 different civil attorneys. If they tell me it's a good idea for me to sue these people, that there is a very high probability of me winning this case. I have everything on camera too. I have them record. I have a recording of them acknowledging that they took a down payment on a tractor that they misrepresented. So money was exchanged with false information. So that's something that the lawyer can no, I'll tell the lawyer, because, well, who knows. My whole big thing was, well, like so every human being is kind of a microcosm of a universe. Every human being has their own little microcosm of a universe that creates who they are. Do I think that these people had my best interest in mind by not offering me a refund? I mean, that's could be deceptive trade practices, what I'm guessing, because they never offered me a refund. They acknowledged that it wasn't a 50 horsepower tractor, but after I figured out for myself that it wasn't, and I talked to them about it, they said, oh yeah, this is actually a 35 horsepower tractor. I had already put a down payment on it, so they're gonna have to, well, okay, so if the lawyer says it's a good idea for me to sue these people, that the lawyer thinks, if 3 different lawyers tell me that yes, we do think you can win this case, and we will get you your money back, then I'll sue these people, because it's a lot of financial harm done to me. Like, they sold me a 35 horsepower tractor. I put a down payment on a 50 horsepower tractor, only to figure out for myself that it was a 35 horsepower tractor. Now this season I need to buy another tractor, because this tractor that I have right now, if I had a 50 horsepower tractor, I could use it for some silage equipment, for at least some silage equipment. But a 35 horsepower tractor, it ain't gonna push enough out the engine to. The engine's not strong enough to run any silage equipment practically, except for maybe I personally, I'm sure that there is something out there that it could run. I don't personally know what it is. I've looked into a whole lot of silage equipment. I can't run anything on 35 engine, 30 PTO, on that horsepower rating. On 50 I can even run on a 50 horsepower. I can even run a bell wrapper on 50, like the thing that wraps the bells in plastic. I can run that on 50 horsepower. So even being able to just run that one thing would be a tremendous benefit. I could lift I could put a bale lifter on the back of a 50 horsepower tractor, a bale cradle on the back of a 50 horsepower tractor. I can't do that on the 30. Well, I can do it on. I can put that on the 35 horsepower tractor, but can I lift a bale of silage with it? I highly doubt it. It would be I wouldn't do it, just because it could put me in serious danger. If my tractor flipped over, what am I gonna do? Like, if I lifted a super heavy wet bale of silage and my tractor flipped over, that would be a huge problem for me. So, I mean, why would I I mean, it was there. Well, I mean, it was a whole thing that went on, and I need a 50 horsepower tractor minimum. So, yep, I'm gonna go talk to these people. I'm gonna go talk to these lawyers. If they tell me that there is a very, very good possibility of me winning this case, I'm gonna sue these people, because $10,000 that I paid for this tractor, I paid for it. Well, I mean, $10,000. That is a lot of money. A lot of money. And well, I mean, to have well, I mean, the lawyer will figure it out. The lawyer will tell me it's a good idea, or if it's a bad idea, I'll just leave it alone. It's okay. It's fine by me. I'll figure something out. But if the lawyer tells me we can't do this, I'll sue these people. So I'm gonna go talk to lawyers and see what they say. It's a 30-minute meeting, so it'll be fine. The free meeting, the first meeting is always free for these lawyers, usually. So I'm just gonna go get my free meeting on 3 different lawyers, have a half-hour conversation with them. If they tell me, yeah, you can't sue these people, I'm gonna do it. If they tell me that they wouldn't do it, I'll just leave it alone. It's perfectly fine. It is what it is. I'll figure it out. But I will be suing these people if possible. This grass is growing in real good. Well, I mean, I'll have to see if I can put another well, I mean, now I'm kind of like, man, if I left this grass alone, well, okay. So with cattle grazing it, this grass isn't gonna grow as fast as it could. So if I had 0 cattle on this field, this grass would grow much faster. With cattle grazing it like this, I mean, it will grow faster than they can eat it. It will still just it won't grow as much as it could. So maybe I could get a cutting of silage on this, but there's also a lot of weeds on this field. I've been seeing a lot of weed pressure on this field. So I'll have to, if I was gonna silage, if I was gonna bale this, I would want to herbicide it like today, but I don't have so the way I herbicide is that I go to the co-op and I buy a tonnage of fertilizer. Then I ask them to mix the herbicide into my fertilizer, so that when I throw the fertilizer out, putting fertilizer, top dressing fertilizer on 10 acres takes maybe about an hour. It takes about an hour or 2, maybe 2 hours. So in that 2 hours, when I'm tossing that fertilizer, when I'm top dressing that fertilizer, oh, here's a lot of weeds right here. There's a lot of weeds right here. There's a lot of weed pressure on this field. This stuff, a lot of weed pressure, a lot of stuff like this, just a lot of different stuff going in. So yep, so yeah, so when I go and I get my fertilizer, I ask them to mix a bottle of herbicide in with that fertilizer, so that when I put this fertilizer on this field, it will herbicide everything while I'm fertilizing it. So that it's two birds with one stone. And herbicide costs about $10-12 an acre to really cover, really cover a field. It'll cost about maybe about $12 an acre. Look at all these weeds everywhere. That ain't grass. So yep. So yep, just weeds everywhere. So I would want to herbicide this again if I was going to. But the herbicide, here's the thing, is that the herbicide is, if I was going to put herbicide on this field, I would want to put 1 ton of fertilizer on this field, because I think that that's like the legal mandatory thing. Is that if I want to mix herbicide with fertilizer, I need to mix it's like a 1 jug of it. I forgot exactly how much is in that jug. I need to mix 1 jug of it into 2,000 pounds of fertilizer. Then I need to put that 2,000 pounds of fertilizer evenly out over 10 fields, or excuse me, 10 acres. So yep, and that's also important because I really want to get that herbicide coated on this field properly. So yep, I would want to do that because, yeah, like putting a jug on 1,000 pounds instead of 2,000 pounds, then putting that 1,000 pounds out on this field will mean that there are empty spots that got 0 fertilizer on it. So, and I would want to make sure that I got that on there properly. So yeah, if I wanted to cut this for silage, I would want to herbicide it again right now. But yeah, because by the time this grass has grown enough for silage, those weeds will have grown too. Those weeds will be a maximum size. So, and these weeds, they get huge. So yeah, but I would want to herbicide this again. But I'll have to see. Yeah, but these cattle look good. Field looks good. Got a lot of grass growing in. I may put some more fertilizer on this field, just a little bit more. Then I'll yeah, because if I put fertilizer on this field, when I plant the Sudan grass, there will just be residual amounts of nitrogen fertilizer in this field. Then when I till this grass into the soil, this grass will put nitrogen back. This grass right here, all this, if it gets tilled into the soil, then it decomposes. It'll put nitrogen back into the soil as well as carbon. Because plant material, okay, so plant material, if I were to look at how a plant functions, plant material, it physically absorbs gas, through its plant material. So like all this right here, all this. See how the wind is hitting it like that? The wind is hitting it, and it makes it see how it makes it shake like that? That's because the wind is hitting it. And so when the wind hits it, like look at this grass, how it's shaking like that is because the wind is hitting it. So when the wind hits it, there are these microscopic pores on plant foliage that absorbs gas. Carbon is a majority of plant material. So like if I were to look at the composition, the molecular composition of plant material, carbon would be a majority of it. And so carbon, the plants actually absorb carbon through the atmosphere, through gases in the atmosphere, physically by the air around it essentially hitting it, and it'll absorb that gas. So that gas is a majority of this plant material. Well, if I were to look at the other elements, the other molecules in plant material, there'd be a hydrogen, oxygen, like H2O, water, hydrogen, oxygen. Then it would be a nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. There would be all that stuff inside of plant material. So nitrogen, these plants need nitrogen. The nitrogen is one of the big things to have plants grow better. Carbon is one. Carbon is the big one. Water's another big one. Nitrogen is the next. Oh, it's not as important as a carbon or water, because like if there was no carbon in the atmosphere, if there was zero carbon in the atmosphere, plants couldn't grow. If there was a zero water in the atmosphere or in the soil, the plants couldn't grow. Well, I guess technically if there was zero nitrogen, plants couldn't grow either, I would think. But plants need that carbon, that water, more than just about anything else. Usually, like on planet Earth, okay? Because if there was zero carbon in the atmosphere on planet Earth, that would be a big problem. If there was zero nitrogen, that'd be a huge problem. So just in normal settings, like if I would look at the average field, if I were to pump that field full of carbon gas, carbon dioxide, plants would usually grow significantly more. If I were to irrigate or provide more water, plants would usually grow significantly more, as well as nitrogen. Usually if I provided a bit of nitrogen, the plants would grow significantly more, just because those are the basic elements. Those are some just things that the plant needs to essentially create plant matter. The carbon that they absorb through the atmosphere via gas. Water, it's in the soil. It falls from the sky from rain, and nitrogen is actually falls from a rainwater too. There's a when there's like a thunderstorm. When there's a thunderstorm, the heat from lightning will actually bind nitrogen to the water droplets. So when there's a thunderstorm, the heat from the lightning will actually cause nitrogen to fuse into rainwater. So when that rainwater falls onto the ground, it'll provide a little bit of, actually provide a good bit of nitrogen fertilizer. Yeah, so that's good. Well, I mean, it'll provide a visible amount of nitrogen fertilizer. Usually plant material looks like it's grown more after a good thunderstorm. So yep, a lot going on. Oh man, yeah, I had something that I was gonna bring up and I forgot. Let me see if I can remember here over these next 5 seconds. Oh, okay, well, that's it for me today, YouTube. I'm gonna head back over. I gotta go to work. Y'all have a good one.